Is going on, everyone? It has been a while since I made a video. Sadly, I've been very busy with work, and the other videos I've been making have been taking a lot longer to make. Plus, it's been raining all week, so I actually haven't made too much progress with the videos. So I thought I'd shoot a very simple video and just talk about, I guess, my Nikon Z lineup of lenses I have here. So in total, I have a total of 10 Nikon Z lenses. And so I thought I'd make it fun and kind of just shoot all these in video and kind of showcase what each focal length looks like and kind of explain which lens I would probably use for different video situations. So let's actually start off with the first lens, which is this is actually the widest prime lens I actually own. And this is the 24mm 1.8 from Nikon. One of their newer primes that they've released, and I really like it. It's a very particular shot type of lens. I mainly use it for astrophotography, and I actually included the star lens or star filter here that I use it typically for. The main use of this lens is not really for portraits or anything, or video work really. I would actually mainly use this lens mostly for astrophotography. I'll post some of my photos here in a couple little time lapses. But yeah, I really like it because it's a nice light little lens that's really good at low light. And that 1.8 aperture really lets me get very good light onto the sensor. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I like it. It's a little too wide really for video in my taste, but if you're kind of stretched into a really tight little area, I would say this lens is a really good option. So this is actually one of my newer primes. This is actually the 35 1.8 for the Nikon Z system. And I've actually really been liking this for portraits. I'll post a couple of these. So I bought it just before the holidays, and it was really nice because when you're shooting indoors for, let's say, family portraits or kind of crowded spaces, you can't really back away far enough, right? And I think this is where this lens really shines, is that it's wide enough for you to get intimate shots of your subject, but not too wide where you have to back up, like let's say a 50mm, or give it a little bit too weird of a distortion like 24mm. Okay, so this is actually the first prime lens I actually got for the Nikon ecosystem, and it's actually the 50mm 1.8, as many people would probably call it, the Nifty 50. The reason for this is because it's such a good lens for a lot of different reasons. It's not too far, let's say like an 80mm, or let's even say a Plena, which is a 35mm, but it's that nice little sweet spot that kind of gives a very relaxed feel. And it allows you to get a good wide depth of field. As you can see, the background is actually going to be disappearing a lot more as we go higher and higher with these primes. But also, it's just a really nice overall focal length in my opinion. And I'm trying to keep the same frame, and I'm actually starting to get some distance here. Okay, so this is actually probably my favorite portrait lens. It's actually one of the newest lenses as well that I got. And it's actually the 85 1.8 as well. And I'm actually going to be comparing this lens because I have the old Nikon F version of this. And what I like about it is that it's actually snappier, I've noticed. But overall, what I like about it is it actually gives the face a lot more of a pleasing look, as well as actually give a really good separation of the background. So this is actually about a 13-foot room, and I'm about halfway in the room now, and the camera's all the way against the other wall. And as you can see, the separation's really good. Perspective of each of the lenses as we start compressing down to the larger focal lengths is actually going to be disappearing. So if we actually look at the 24 where we saw a lot of the wall, even though it's the same room, you'll actually notice that a lot of the area is being isolated. Now, I would definitely recommend a 35 and an 85 over a 50, but if you have to get one prime, it's probably going to be the 50. But this is the interesting one, the new interesting prime lens, I guess you could say. It's not necessarily a portrait prime lens, but it's still a new prime, and it's actually the macro 105 2.8. So let's see what that looks like. Let's see what that lens looks like. definitely have to back up quite a bit for this. I'm almost against the wall here, actually. So this is actually my newer lens, newish lens, I would say. And it's actually the Nikon Macro 105 lens. It's not a 1.8, but it's still a prime lens. It's mostly used for a lot of, say, macro photography and enhancing a lot of the details of the subject. But what's really interesting about this lens is that it really gives a good separation to the background. As I said, I'm almost against the wall here, and it's actually still giving a good bokeh or blur of the background. But what's really interesting about this lens is compared to the other primes is how close I could actually get. So I'm actually gonna slowly make my way over. About maybe less than a foot away from the camera. And it's actually focusing really well, which is pretty interesting. Let me get still closer. It's got a really close focusing distance. Oh, okay, so about 1.5 feet, and it lost me. Oh, there it is again. But this is an interesting one because this lens is an interesting lens that could be used to really isolate the subject more for, let's say, I'm thinking like focus on the facial expressions in videography or cinematography. Really interesting. I think I might still use this for a couple specialty shots, but I'm really liking this. Alright, this is actually the widest lens I own, which I use for mainly landscape photography, astrophotography, and a couple other niche shoots, I guess you could say, or niche shots I want to get. This is actually the Nikon 14 to 24 millimeter f2.8 for the Z mount, and it's really good. I've actually used this for vlogging a couple times when I can't necessarily use the 24 millimeter angle. And this is actually what it looks like at 24. Let's actually stretch it out. I actually use it more commonly probably at the 20 angle. And as you can see, it's already showing quite a bit of the room, and you can actually start seeing the monitor I'm filming here with. And this is pretty good. You can actually see the 11 by 13 foot room right here, and it's pretty wild. But here's the thing about these wide lenses is that as you go out, it actually starts to distort the lenses quite a bit, or the faces and other sort of things. As you can see most of the lens collection here, and you can probably see the corner of the table over here, which is a 7-foot table. Pretty interesting, but watch what happens when I go to 14 millimeter. It completely undistorts everything. Now you can see even the details on my desk here, and you can see even the door in the corner over here, and essentially even the plants over here. I probably wouldn't use this for video necessarily at these focal lengths because you can see my face looks a little distorted, and as I get closer to the camera, my hands and other sort of things that are really close look a lot larger. Okay, this is the 24 to 70 f2.8 from Nikon Z system. I absolutely love this lens for not just photo work, but video work itself. It's actually almost the perfect focal length from let's say even just like standing shots here. I'm literally about arm's length away, about a meter away from the camera, and it doesn't look anything in terms of distortion. It doesn't look anything, doesn't have any weird artifacts. It has a little bit of vignetting in the corners and not as bright as the other lenses, but overall I really like it because I could do something like this, have a very personal shot right here, but when we do the other end, go from 24 to 70 like this, definitely gives a little bit more of a dramatic shot to the video in itself. So I really like it. What I like about this lens is mainly for doing video work and capturing video on the fly. It's not too imposing necessarily because it's not going to distort everything in the environment, but it's also not going to be too much of a hassle to use as compared to the 70 to 200, which we'll see in a moment. It's middle point for a lot of things, and I highly recommend anyone who's getting any of the Trinity, start with the 24 to 70. It is by far the most well-rounded lens anyone could use for video and photo work. Alright, so this is actually the 70 to 200 f2.8 for the Nikon Z system, and to be quite honest, it's a specialty lens. I would say it has a couple different uses for video at least. It's definitely got that zoom factor. I would definitely say it's a great, well-rounded lens for video work if you're going to be doing interviews and whatnot, because it's really great as a B or main lens. The other thing that's interesting about this is I've actually got quite a bit of shots of surrounding subjects and video work from a distance because it helps either A, give you that pop that you need to get more detail, or two, it helps you isolate a lot of that. I've done this a lot for when I'm traveling. I need to get B-roll shots or just environmental shots. I usually pop on at 70 to 200 and get amazing shots with this. Let's actually zoom in, but I'm actually up against the wall right now, the bookshelf itself. And this is the 200 millimeter range of this lens. As you can see, it narrows down the subject really well. It's blown out. Even though my head is almost hitting the wall, you could see that it's still isolating, the subject fairly well from the background. But the 70-200, it has a little sweet spot where it fills a lot of niches. I would say 30% of the time that the 24-70 cannot. And it's really great for a lot of far distance shots you need to get. Throw on a teleconverter, gets really great shots as well. But again, you got to be ready for when you need to use it. So overall, each of these lenses I would definitely say is a specific tool in your kit. One thing I do want to say is that primes have their place to make things a little more, I don't know, like isolating the subject, but also it applies better to story. This is why a lot of filmmakers actually shoot mainly with a lot of primes, is that it gives more of a beautiful, elegant, cinematic feel versus just using zoom shots, which have their place in a lot of cases, especially if you can't take a lot of primes with you everywhere, do very well to give a very particular look. Normally I take 2 or 3 depending on what I'm working on and shooting with. But yeah, let me know in the comments what do you think this shot is. Also, shout out to this company called Field Made Co. for these awesome stickers right here. Focus, there we go. What I like about these stickers is that I've actually put them on each of my lens caps, and when I'm actually digging in my bag, I don't have to figure out what lens it is. They're not sponsoring this video, I just really like these stickers. And what I love about it is that they're really thick material. It's not those cheap like paper stickers that are really hard or plastic. But yeah, I love these things. Highly recommend from anyone who's actually taking photography and traveling a lot, or even just like switches through lenses quite often. These stickers are made for Sony E-mount, Fuji, Canon, and Nikon. I just happen to really dig the Nikon design because it's got that gold right there, or the Nikon gold with the Z system. But yeah, hope you guys like this video. Got a lot of projects coming up and a lot of videos. Sorry they've been taking a while to get done. But yeah, drop me a comment below what you think this lens is. And until next time, later.